The honourable member for Toronto-Danforth.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, deigning to speak to us from Peru, the Prime Minister said that Nigel Wright wrote a cheque to Senator Duffy for what he called, quote, the right motive. But the Prime Minister is ignoring that making a payment to a senator in relation to a controversy before the Senate or for the purpose of influencing a senator is an indictable offence under the Parliament of Canada Act. So, Mr. Speaker, can today's stand-in Prime Minister tell us why the Prime Minister continues to soft-pedal potentially criminal activity?
The honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
If the honourable colleague wants to quote the Prime Minister, I would encourage him to use the entire quote. Here's the full quote of what the Prime Minister said. He said, quote, that the motive may have been right, but nevertheless it was obviously not correct, and that the decision to be made and executed without my knowledge or without public transparency. That's the full quote. It was irresponsible behaviour on behalf of Nigel Wright. The Prime Minister made that clear. Nigel Wright has resigned, and it was the appropriate thing to do.
The honourable member for Toronto-Danforth.
So, Mr. Speaker, the only wrong thing is not telling the Prime Minister or the public. That's what that quote says directly. Let's go back to Lima. The Prime Minister emphasized that Mr. Wright paid out Senator Duffy with Mr. Wright's own money, as if that somehow absolves Mr. Wright of possible criminal responsibility involving up to a year in jail under the Canada Parliament Act and 14 years under the Criminal Code. Does the government front bench agree with the Prime Minister that Mr. Wright was trying to do the right thing when he used his own money so that Mr. Duffy could pretend to be paying back the $90,000 as his own money? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable Minister of Canadian Heritage.
Well, first things first, as I've said a few times now, the Independent Ethics Commissioner is looking into this, and before my honourable colleague starts, handing out these kind of assessments, he might want to wait for that report to come back first. But second of all, of course we agree with the leadership that the Prime Minister has shown in ensuring that taxpayers' money is spent in a responsible way, not only in the Senate, but also in the House, and also by his staff. What Nigel Wright did was wrong. The Prime Minister was very clear about that. And when he offered his resignation, the Prime Minister accepted it immediately because Canadians need to know that they have a Prime Minister that they can trust with their money, and they do.